Hi, Venus lovers. It's Dr. Danny. Welcome back. How's everybody doing? I've missed you guys. I'm doing really, really fantastic. My house is pretty much done and back to quote unquote normal, at least for a little while. So I'm loving it. I'm in my space. There's some really amazing energy coming up. This video is going to cover Venus transiting through Leo from June 22nd to July 22nd. There's going to be two parts to Leo because halfway through Leo, Venus will turn station and then turn retrograde. So why are we watching Venus, guys? Well, I actually had to sit with that for a little while because I know why I watch Venus. But it's hard for me to explain it to other people why they should watch Venus. And so I sat with it over the weekend, and basically what I came up with is, as a physician for women, I deal with the divine feminine wounds of the collective every single day. Literally, a day doesn't go by where I don't see tears from a woman, either in physical pain or emotional pain. Almost all of my staff is women. Everyone that works in labor and delivery is a woman. And so I watch how women use their tremendous, enormous, beautiful goddess creator energy against themselves and then blame others. And as a result, they end up toxifying their environment, the very same environment that they could attain great healing and comfort and support from once they're healed. And I feel like if everyone watches Venus, not just women, but everyone watches Venus, they can tap into that divine feminine energy. You can watch where wounds might be occurring. And with that awareness, you can become healed. You can begin to wield your creator goddess energy for the good of yourself and for the good of everyone around you. We use the real sky on this channel, so we are cosmically aligned to the constellations. So if Venus and Leo doesn't sound quite right to you, if I talk about some of the moon energies, you may be following the seasonal tropical system, which isn't a big deal, but here we use the real sky because I just feel like it just takes the complexity out of it. Let's just look up and see what's happening, and then we can talk about it. So I want you guys to, about an hour after sunset, the next few weeks, go outside if you have a clear sky and check out Venus. You're also going to see Mars, and you're going to see Venus and Mars very close together approaching the star Regulus. And also this week, if you guys hopefully were able to catch it, the first day this video comes out, right after sunset, you're going to see the moon, Venus, and Mars right there at the beginning of Leo. This is going to be the brightest time for star Venus because she is approaching us very rapidly. Okay, but she's also going to start taking that turn in front of the Earth, between the Earth and the Sun. So she's at her closest, she is at her brightest, she is at her fastest in terms of her cosmological speed. And you can watch this entire incredible transit from your own backyard if you're looking up. So let's talk about a little bit about where Venus has been. We started these Venus transits in April of this year. Venus is one of those planets that describes the feminine archetype. She's also about beauty, love, and harmony. And Venus attains enlightenment by experiencing the senses. So that's how she learns and grows. She experiences with her body, with her eyes, with her smell, with her taste, with her touch. So all of those things are combined in this divine feminine archetype. Now, Leo, this transit, is ruled by the sun. The sun has actually just entered Gemini a day or two ago. And so what we're going to be doing in this particular transit is also watching Mercury very closely. Because with the sun in Gemini and Mercury in Taurus, we need to watch him very closely. And I'm going to outline some mythology for you that's going to make absolutely perfect sense. So Venus spent most of April in her home constellation of Taurus. And I feel like this was a time from April 5th to about May 5th where she was standing in her power, drawing in her resources to begin the important work of her cycle through the zodiac. Then she transited into Mercury, or into Gemini, of which Mercury rules. And Mercury Gemini energy is about embodying the information through inspiration and downloads, and then differentiating the inner voice of the ego from the higher voice of the soul. This transit occurred from May 6th to May 29th. Then we just got out of Cancer with Venus. So we have that moon Cancer energy. And this energy attains enlightenment through emotional security and compassionate recognition of the self in others. And that transit just ended yesterday. Okay? So how does Sun Leo energy attain enlightenment? Well, it does it through a purity and an innocence of expression. And then there's a divine love of self, right? So that is the highest octave of Leo Sun energy. So what I want to do now is share my screen and show you all those cool websites that I love to share with you to show you where energy actually is in the sky. Yeah, good. You guys should be able to see my screen now. Okay, so let's start with the 3D solar system. So this is today when this transit starts. And these are the positions of the inner planets of our solar system. And we're looking at it from a bird's eye view. And on this website, theskylive.com/3D solar system, we are actually able to manipulate this and look at it from all sorts of different directions. But this is where we sit right now, right here on Earth. Mercury has just stationed direct a few weeks ago and will be coming up upon a superior conjunction itself on the 30th of June. But what we're watching here is Venus and Earth and their relative movements to each other. And I want to show you what's going to happen next month, because this is going to be amazing. This is why we're doing all of this, so that I can show you guys what we're looking at. On the 13th of August, Venus is going to move into a very special conjunction with the Earth called a Venus star point. Okay? And so that's why we're watching. We're watching all the energy up until this point. And this is a gateway. This is a special point of activation where, depending on where Venus is in your chart, you might be able to access or strengthen this activation, and it could help you in innumerable ways, in all of the ways that Venus can help you with harmony, abundance, and love. So let's see. Venus in Leo is going to be a pretty big, juicy topic. Let me show you what she'll do in the sky here. Okay, so here we go. We're actually starting this transit conjunct the moon, which is pretty cool. So you have Venus, Mars, and the moon right here on the edge of Cancer moving into Leo, and this is what you're going to see. Now watch how slowly Venus is moving. Almost as slowly as Mars. Mars is going to hit Regulus right here, and as soon as he does that, Venus is going to start stationing direct, and then on the 22nd we'll begin her station retrograde and transit retrograde. You see that? So this is where we'll stop the transit readings, and then next month we'll watch Venus go backwards. And you see how Mercury kind of swoops in there? Look at that. And there's also another little bit of moon energy returning at the end of that. It's a new moon. Okay, so we're going to get into all of that. Let's talk a little bit about Venus and Leo. There's some really amazing mythology that we're going to touch on. This is actually a petroglyph or a hieroglyph of the goddess Sekhmet. Sekhmet was an Egyptian goddess. She was the daughter of Ra. She was basically asked to come forth and to merge with the goddess Hathor to carry out the retribution of Ra. Ra was very disappointed with humanity, and this is a story in a time before time. So before Egyptians started writing down their history, this was one of the stories that they told. So essentially, Sekhmet, the daughter of Ra, she acts as the vengeful manifestation of Ra's power, the Eye of Ra. She is associated with that hot desert wind, breathing fire. She was thought to cause plague. She was basically the line between the chaos of the desert and the fertility of the Nile River. So she also had aspects that were very beneficial. So she was considered a healer. She was considered a doctor. Actually, physicians back then, not only did they study astrology, but they also used Sekhmet as their deity. So she protected the pharaohs and was blessed by Ra and his lineage. So she protected soldiers and anyone actually loyal to Ra. So she was not just any goddess. The Sekhmet energy actually could be embodied by other goddesses. So throughout Egyptian history, you'll see in this particular story I'm going to tell you where she was embodied by Hathor, and then I'll tell you the story. But she was also embodied by Isis and by Mut. So she is a powerful, forceful, divine feminine energy that can be harnessed by other goddesses in order to provide redemption, in order to provide healing, in order to protect those that she cares for and is fiercely loyal to. So here's the myth of Sekhmet. So basically, Ra was upset with humanity. He wanted them gone. He said, let's destroy them all. So he said, Hathor, take on Sekhmet and go handle this for me. Well, she became so bloodthirsty. She actually loved killing humans and drinking their blood and this powerful, lustful energy. And Ra actually felt sorry for humans after a while, said, wait a minute, Sekhmet, maybe we should just kind of hold on a minute. But she couldn't be stopped because this was an addictive power. This was what she really, really wanted to do. And so they realized that they actually had to trick her. And so they filled a field with jars full of ochre and hematite flavored and colored beer. And she saw these jugs, thought it was blood, and began drinking. She drank so much that she became inebriated and then she passed out. So she wasn't able to begin destroying. Well, when she woke up, she realized that she'd been tricked. And so she decided that she was going to leave. The power of the sun will diminish when the Sekhmet energy leaves the sun. So it won't be as hot. It won't be as fertile. It won't be as healing. So after she left for a while, they were worried that the sun would diminish because another one of her jobs was to go with Ra at sunset into the underworld and protect him and keep him safe until dawn the next day. So with Sekhmet pulling back her energy, no one was sure if the sun would rise again. And so Thoth came and talked to her and said, you need to go back to the sun. You need to go back to Ra and do the duties that you were created to do. And then she did. And so what I'm going to show you in this astrology is the exact same story. I'm not kidding you. And here's Thoth. He's actually in the form of a baboon enticing Sekhmet, the lion, back to her home in Heliopolis. Now, there's another myth, but it's more of a Hindu or an Indian myth. There's also a goddess called Kali. Now, Kali is a little bit more attributed to Pluto energy, secret energy, destructive energy, but the myth is almost exactly the same. This goddess was also unchecked, unbridled, powerful, hot female energy that had a lust for blood and a lust for battle. And the only thing that would sate her was Shiva. So Shiva is not really associated or syncretic with Mercury, more of the Mars energy, but we also have that in our astrology. So you see here's Shiva. He laid himself down at her feet so that he could placate the lustful Kali. You'll also notice here that she does this symbol with her hands. This is called the Apana Mudra. This mudra, if you sit with this for 30 or 40 minutes, will settle and ground the sacral and the root chakra, which are very important to female energy because that's where our reproductive organs are. So this is the energy of what we're dealing with here with Venus going into Leo, stationing retrograde, and then continuing on to the Venus star point when she hits that inferior conjunction. Okay, so what do you say we get into a little bit of astrology here? We're going to just kind of review the last few weeks of Cancer real quick, just so we know what kind of energies are overlapping into the Leo energy. Venus has just spent basically a really short amount of time in Cancer, and Cancer was the energy of the love of love. And during this transit, it's actually very healing and very purifying, but a little bit painful, a little bit difficult to get through, at least for me personally. She did do a square with Chiron. She also did a mystic square with the nodes in Pluto. So purifying what is valued, purifying what is loved, and essentially following in the footsteps of Mars, who had already gone through that Chiron square and then that mystic square with nodes in Pluto as well, and a lot of elemental energy too. We are also in the midst of Saturn retrograde and Pluto retrograde. On the 8th, Venus was close enough to be considered a conjunction with Mars. And if you go within 9 degrees of orb or of separation, this is a very long transit. All of Venus's transits right now are actually slower and longer because where she's moving quickly, but she's moving quickly toward us. So it doesn't look like she's going either direction on a birth chart. So she's almost moving as slowly as Mars would appear to move for us. Mars recently transited into the constellation of Leo on the 14th of June. So hopefully you all felt that powerful shift, because a Mars in Cancer is a little bit more of a wet blanket, a little bit more of a passive aggressive energy, where Mars in Leo is all fire. And then Venus began a trine with Chiron that Mars is also in the middle of the week before this transit starts. So you can see how both of them are getting closer and closer and starting to share these transits. And then the sun moved into Gemini on the 20th. So we are officially in Gemini season. Tropical astrologers will tell you that that's already happened, but if you look up in the sky right now with your celestial apps, you will see that the sun actually is in Gemini. And then on the 22nd of June, Venus transited into Leo. So we're just going to kind of go over this transit real quick, this Venus transiting or conjuncting Mars. You'll see this is very long. Watch this blue line all the way through, okay? Goes all the way into July and completes on the 18th of July, okay? So I'm talking, this isn't one big, continuous energy. This is more like a wave that peaks, and it peaks right here on July 1st. Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit more about that as we get into the details of these transits. Another overlapping transit is Venus trining on Chiron. Okay, this is also very long. So watch this green line. Okay, it goes all the way through the next couple of weeks and into the 9th of July. Okay, so another long transit. I know this looks like a lot, but I am going to break it down for you. So don't worry. Just sit back, grab your coffee or your juice or your wine, and watch. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so those are basically the two plus one more that will overlap into July. The other one is Venus squaring on Uranus. This red line here, you can see that goes all the way to the 13th. Then we've got Venus trining the Galactic Center and the Sun conjuncting Sirius. Okay, so what do you say we get going? I'm going to start with this Venus squaring Uranus transit. Let's look at a birth chart too. Let's look at a natal chart so we can see what that looks like. So here we have June 22nd, the beginning of this transit. You have Venus just inside of Leo. You have Mars in Leo and the Moon in Leo. So we have this triple conjunction basically right here where you've got both Mars energy and Venus energy associated with the Moon. So you got this little conjunction giving us a kickoff into the month's transits. So let's see. The first one is Venus in Aries Venus in Leo and Uranus in Aries. So this is a square, okay? This to me feels like you're conflicted with the desire for new and interesting experience versus what is known and tested and valued. Remember that squares ask us to accept something or let something go, and it often triggers something in us that makes us feel like something's happening to us. So the absolute wrong way to go whenever you have a square, no matter what it is to blame the way you feel on others, okay? You and only your Venus are responsible for how you feel. This square can also be a tricky point for adrenaline junkies because remember, this Leo Venus wants to feel stimulated, okay? This is Sekhmet, this is Kali. It's the lust of the experience. So there's very high emotions. There can be very wide swings of emotions. And there can also be apathy. So this is another reason why we are watching Mercury very, very closely, because Mercury is going to help us reason. It's going to keep us grounded in Taurus, at least during this square. Okay. Now, the next thing we're going to look at, I wish this was faster, is Mercury entering into Gemini. And I want to talk about this because this will happen in just a few days, the weekend after Venus enters into Leo. So now we have the Sun in Gemini and we have Mercury in Gemini. So Mercury is logical and truthful. And Gemini is its home realm. It rules Gemini. And Mercury attains enlightenment through knowledge, right? So Mercury can be a useful tool for these hot, fiery energies of Mars and Venus and Leo. Think, ask, study, learn before you act, especially with the Venus square Uranus. Okay, the next thing that happens is moon energy. We do watch moon energy in these transits too, because the moon is a very feminine energy. And if we're discussing the divine feminine like we are with Venus, we want to know how those energies interact. On the 26th, there'll be a Virgo moon that sextiles Venus. So this is an opportunity. Sextiles are opportunities. You don't have to participate, but with the moon in Virgo, this is a great day to maybe call or reach out to a motherly figure in your life. A mother, a grandmother, an older friend, a neighbor, a coworker. So, right? So the moon is that emotional body and represents mother energy. And it's in Virgo, which is the mother sky goddess. And the reason we call it the Mother Sky Goddess is because of the number of galaxies in this constellation. If you were to Google how many galaxies are in the constellation of Virgo, you're going to get a number that's well over 1,000. All the other constellations are in the tens or the hundreds or even the single digits. So what is a galaxy? Well, it's basically energy turning into matter around a singularity of the black hole. And we're in the middle of the Virgo cluster, and Virgo points right to that. So, but if you're having, so like I said, this is an opportunity. So if you're having any of the frustrations with Chiron, with Uranus, with Mars energy, call a female figure in your life. And you might find that the universe is inviting you to have this conversation as a gift that sets you on the right path. All right. And then a few days later, the moon in Libra squares on Venus, just as Neptune is going retrograde. So now we add one more planet to our retrograde pantheon. And then Venus trines on the Galactic Center. So first let me talk about the moon, and then we will talk about Venus trining the Galactic Center, because that's actually a big one. Let me take a sip of water. Like I said, guys, this might be a long one, so settle on in with me. So again, we have with the moon, a Libra moon, and another kind of square energy on Venus. So we've already got the Uranus square. Now we have the moon square. So this might be like a hit in the feels. Moon energy is pretty quick. So squares with the moon with Venus are going to feel like you're deflated a little bit. Like, oh, I didn't want to do this, but I have to. And with Libra, which is also a constellation that Venus rules both Taurus and Libra. So this might be an act of justice, a small justice. This isn't a big thing, like saying no to a child, even though you really want to say yes, or speaking a truth that maybe you were asked to keep secret, but you feel in your heart that you have to reveal it. Or you may be just someone that's going to take the middle road, even though you're passionate about one side or the other, because you just don't want to get in any trouble. And Libra will help you do that. All right, so that's that energy. Now let's get into this bigger energy where Venus is trining the Galactic Center. This is this purple line right here. This is a very, very long, this purple line all the way through July. It's going to go all the way through July and even into August a little bit. So we have a lot of time to develop this and explore this. And because this is a trine, we're going to be able to flow with our own Milky Way's singularity black hole, that energy. That is a very, very powerful energy. This is a big black hole in the center of creation and on the cusp of the constellation of Ophiuchus and Sagittarius. Typically, we consider this area a little bit more important if you have something there, like the moon. the sun or another planet or luminary, or if it's on your ascendant. So do me a favor, guys. Let me know if you have anything in your Sagittarius Ophiuchus cusp, because this energy may be different for you. And I can help you. So I'll give you me as an example. So my North Node is actually conjunct the Galactic Center. It is literally right there, and it's in my 7th house. So you guys share with me in the comments what's in there and what house that's in for you. And then I've got both Mars and Venus conjunct my natal Mars. So I've got Mars conjunct Venus, Venus trining the Galactic Center where my North Node is, and Mars and Venus are also conjunct my natal Mars, which is conjunct Regulus. Okay, so I've got this divine feminine, masculine energy, will, drive, fire that is trining my soul's purpose, my dharma in the Galactic Center. So this transit for me is like a flow of purpose and a unification of my will and my value. And this actually looks a lot to me. This actually feels a lot like when I think about this energy, the symbol of the Ankh comes up for me. I don't know if any of you guys know what the Ankh looks like. I'll actually put that in this video a little bit later. But it's commonly held in the hands of ancient Egyptian deities on their hieroglyphs, or it's being given to someone by the pharaoh to represent their power to sustain life and to revive human souls in the afterlife. So this is a very powerful energy for me. I'm going to, work on that over the next several weeks and kind of see how that feels for me. Okay, let's see. The very next day is pretty important too, because we talked a lot about Mercury. If y'all haven't seen my Mercury retrograde part 1, part 2 video on my YouTube channel, do check that out. If you're interested at all in celestial mechanics, I know a lot of you aren't, but if you are, that is a great video because I talk about the movements of Mercury, why retrograde motion might feel a little bit different to some people, and when that superior conjunction comes, why it's going to feel almost a little bit like a Mercury retrograde for people that channel. Okay, so if you channel spirits, channel divine information, you write, you speak, you're going to feel a little bit cut off here as Mercury makes this transit behind the sun. Okay, so for those of you that do channel, this might be a quiet time for you on this Friday, a time when you feel a little bit less inspired, less connected, and you may actually doubt your downloads. The downloads that you get, you might be like, is that my ego saying that? So it's important for you to expand your awareness externally a little bit, just in sort of a general way, and look for synchronicities. Because when Mercury is behind the sun, Mercury is still transmitting, but it's transmitting to the sun. And then the sun shines light and reflects the images back to our eyes. Okay, so if you have a channel, an inspiration, a download, write it down, speak it out, save it, look at it, think about it, read it, and then expand your awareness externally and see if synchronicities don't pop up for you. If it does, then that means that your channel is correct, that it's accurate, that it's aligned to the higher wisdom. If it doesn't, then that might be just your ego, because there's some Neptune energy that's kind of putting some of us in an illusion and a delusion mode. All right, so this is quick. This will be really fast. After Saturday, Sunday, Mercury will start coming around the other side of the sun and will be rapidly approaching us once again with all sorts of great information and downloads from this next cycle. Now, another really incredible transit is the Sun conjunct Sirius. This is also going to start that same day. So the Sun is being influenced by the Sirius energy, which is Isis, which is Venus, which is a very powerful, very auspicious, very lucky star to be conjunct with. And do you know what this conjunction means? This is very exciting. Now, you won't see Sirius right now, but when you look at the sun, I want you to understand that this very powerful star is rising the same time that the sun is. And in a few more days, a few more weeks actually, like I think late July, will be what's called the heliacal rising of Sirius. And this was a very, very important time of year for the Egyptians, because that meant that the Nile was going to flood and fill the lands with water that become fertile. Okay, so this was a very important. This is actually the Egyptian New Year. So yeah, just keep your eyes on that, and then in about a month or so, you'll be able to see Sirius in the morning, right before the sun rises. All right, so I think that's all of June. That's a lot, right? Let's hit July. This is where it gets really, really juicy, and there's just a lot of energy. That first weekend of the first 2 weekends of July and that first week are just packed with that Venus trine the Galactic Center, Venus square on Uranus, Sun conjunct Sirius, Venus trine to Chiron, and Venus conjunct Mars. Okay, so that's Saturday. Those guys are going to get close enough to be in the orb of the star Regulus. But before I get into that, let's talk about this moon in Ophiuchus. So this is going to be a waxing moon because we're approaching a Sagittarius full moon that Sunday. So this moon is going to trine on Venus. And this is very basic for me. It just feels like a healing blend of not only emotional but also sensual energy that's very healing, that is also the creative trigger that will connect you to spirit. And I think the star Regulus may also have a lot to do with that. This is also the day that Venus and Mars perfect their conjunction. In other words, it's the closest their conjunction will be. They don't actually touch. They just get close enough to kiss, and then Venus starts to really slow down, and she'll station retrograde 3 weeks later. So Mars and Venus perfect on the 1st with Regulus. So let's talk a little bit about that. Regulus is called the kingly star, and those that were born with good placements of Regulus were typically considered a kingmaker, unifying the first primordial separation of the divine feminine and the sacred masculine. Mars will perfect with Regulus on the 9th, and Venus will not follow. She's going to slow down even more, and she will stop around 13 to 14 degrees in Leo, and then station retrograde late on the 21st of July. This contact, to me, almost symbolizes the event I described in the beginning, where Sekhmet's given the red beer by Ra and then becomes intoxicated. So she slows down and she stops. Like she just doesn't have the juice to keep following the will, which is Mars, the go get it, the do it energy of Mars. And then after this event, Venus may feel like she's losing steam, but she's not. Okay, this is where I feel like a lot of astrologers get it wrong. She is gathering the power of the sun god Ra. That's what she's doing. She's basically, and what will happen here is, and I'll show you in the chart, is that Mercury is going to just kind of pass her a little bit, which symbolizes Thoth, convincing her to go back to the sun, and then she does. She makes that Venus star point on August 13th. So I'll talk more about that in a little bit. And after the star point, she will emerge as the morning star. Now, we've been seeing her as the evening star, which is the soft, squishy, sensual Venus. But as a morning star, Venus is a warrior. She's a warrior goddess. So this is a very exciting time this summer. All right, so I hope all that energy is good, and that was only Saturday the 1st. So Sunday the 2nd, you've got all of that, plus a Sagittarius full moon. And this Sagittarius full moon is on the Sagittarius Gemini axis. So there you go again, a little bit of more Mercury energy for us. And this to me feels like communicating knowledge for the highest good. So what you might find yourself doing is burying yourself in information without processing. Okay, just go ahead and get the books. It's going to feel really good to read. It's going to feel really good to connect the dots and to go like, oh my gosh, aha, that's what it is. That's the truth. So that is a great day for doing that. And also relish your expansion of knowledge on that day. It's going to be a very powerful weekend. Okay. So in the midst of all this crazy rainbow energy with Venus and Mars and Sirius and Regulus, we've got a waning Aquarius moon that will oppose Venus. Okay, this feels like a balancing act between seeing the bigger picture and the passion and the heat of right now. So see the bigger picture. Oh, what feels good right now? That's where Venus is going to be at this whole month. And so this moon energy is going to be another little hit to the feels. Like, oh, if I do this right now, it may not help me with the bigger picture. So it's an energy of self-love versus the love of the collective. It's between what's new and different versus what is steadfastly valued. And it's between taking that leap of faith and doing what is safe. Okay, so Wednesday is a big day, a little bit of struggle with that. Moving on to the next really long transit that Venus is going to be involved with is a trine sextile to the node. So she'll be specifically trining the north node and sextiling the south node. The north node is currently in Pisces and the south node is currently in Virgo. And if you follow this black line here, from here, through here, through here, through here, and through here, it's going to continue all the way until the 10th of August. So we talk a lot about the North and the South Node in astrology, so you guys should already know this by now, but just briefly, the North Node is considered your dharma or your purpose or your calling in life, the thing that you must accomplish in order to break free of this karmic cycle and move on to the next one. And the South Node is where you come from. It's what you're really comfortable with. In other words, the gifts that you come into this realm with, okay? So to have Venus trining the North Node is a love and a value of that higher purpose. And it's a flow into the mystical visions of humanity's purpose. While your South Node is our collective origin, the Mother Sky Goddess energy that Venus will sometimes embody. And so it's an opportunity to connect to those cosmic origins. And you have a long time to do it. You have, basically like 4 or 5 weeks to really feel into this energy. And on the same day as that transit starts, Mercury is going to transit into Cancer, right? So Mercury is a quick mover. He wasn't in Gemini for very long. Now he's in Cancer. So this is protective energy, more mother energy, moon energy, emotional energy. So this is a nice time to connect and communicate with loved ones. And your emotional intuition will also be easily verbalized. So sometimes with me, I'll feel an emotional hit, but I don't quite have the words for it. And Mercury moving into Cancer will help you do that. All right, so then we already talked about the 9th when Mars conjuncts Regulus and the Venus trine to Chiron ends. And on Monday, the 10th, we have a Aries moon trining on Venus. So security, so this is a trine. Sorry, I was looking down at the next one. So this is a waning moon this time, where the last trine we had with the moon was a waxing moon. And this time the moon's in Aries. So this is a peace within the self, right? This is a value of the self and a love of the self. This is a great day for self-nurturing for Venus, especially now that after the interaction with Regulus and Mars and her upcoming station retrograde, this might give us sort of the hit to our self-confidence that we need to move forward without the energy of Mars, or to move backwards, so to speak, without the energy of Mars. A couple days later, the moon is in Taurus, and it squares on Venus. And these are the days that the sun is, the conjunction with the sun in Sirius is ending, and very close to the waning energies of Venus squaring Uranus. So I feel like this is basically an emotional hit to the security of love. So if you're in a relationship, if you're loving somebody or someone, you may feel a little bit insecure. But this is, the moon is going to be in Venus's ruling constellation of Taurus. So this may not be that bad. You may just have some questions that day. Or you may feel a little bit of a hit in the security of your finances or the things that you hold dear or value. So watch that day. But opening up into the 16th of July, the sun enters Cancer. So this is my sun sign. The sun in Cancer is actually going to heighten focus on topics of the home, the mother figure, material comforts, property, and happiness, okay? It can also cause a deeper inner exploration and becoming more honest and self-aware about feelings. So Cancers tend to be very inward about their bad feelings. They don't really like to share that with people. But to be honest with the self and be self-aware about these feelings, and then taking an authentic responsibility for your emotional reactions in certain situations. Now, the moon rules Cancer, and the moon and sun are typically friendly. They interact every month in a full moon and a new moon. And that sun's radiance in the house of the moon may cause some people to evaluate the things that they actually want to keep secret. Maybe there's some things that they actually do want to share with their external environment. And so, or you may have things that are out there that you actually wish to keep private. And so this is a great chance for us to, especially with that new moon happening the day after, to redraw the boundaries, either a little further out or a little further in, depending on what it is that you need. And all that just depends on where your sun is, where your moon is. So some people may face challenges in overcoming the shyness, and the sun will give them situations where they actually showcase more than normal. So any of you that have like really strong Cancer energy, you might feel like you have to come out of your shell a little bit in this mid-July time frame. So let's talk a little bit about the Cancer new moon. This feels like the shell of protection. So in this energy, go into your home frequency, set intentions to shed the outer shell and decide what will be known and not known. And once again, this is intentions on boundaries. So if you know this energy is coming, start thinking about this sooner, because the weekend before, when Mercury enters into Cancer, you're going to be able to, especially now that it's done with that superior conjunction, you're going to be getting more intuitive hits and downloads. You might feel your inner self saying, God, we ought to tell people about this energy that we're feeling so that people can understand this and get through it, the way I did. So you can learn that kind of information. All right. So then the conjunction with Venus and Mars are going to end. That energy is going to wane off. And then Mercury is going to move into Leo with Venus. And this is the part of the story where we've got Mercury being syncretic to Thoth. And that Shiva is similar to Thoth in the story, even though Shiva is more similar to Mars in the Hindu mythology. 10 days from this particular transit where Mercury moves into Leo, Mercury will actually catch up to Venus at the exact moment that she is conjunct to Regulus. And he essentially convinces her to return to Ra. So Shiva will throw himself at her feet to satisfy Kali and the bloodlust. And, in listening to all these mythologies and reading about them, I kind of feel like Sekhmet and Kali get a bad rap. Like they're feared, and the mere mortal man should fear the scorn of the woman, but I feel like they give it a bad energy because of their fear of it. And we don't have to be afraid of it. If your energy is hot and on fire this month, Venus, because of all this Leo energy, this Mars energy, right before she goes retrograde, just go with it. Just feel it out. I mean, be careful not to hurt anyone's feelings or to, irreparably damage any of your relationships, but use Mercury energy and communicate for yourself what it is that your Kali needs. What does your Sekhmet need? Like, why is she angry? Why is she lustful for vengeance or blood? Get at that energy if that's apparent for you. Other ways it may manifest is just, a divinely inspired romance with someone that you maybe never thought you could be romantic for. It may also manifest as the energy of a creative idea that merges with the sacred masculine energy, that merges with the divine communication of Mercury, the kingly energy of Regulus, and the mythologies of old. So whatever it is that your Venus energy is dealing with this month, it's powerful. So I hope this helps you guys. The last thing that we're going to be dealing with before Venus stations retrograde is another moon in Leo. But this time the moon will be conjunct Venus all by herself. Mars will not be involved. So in last month's conjunction to the moon in Cancer, Venus and Mars were both in the conjunction. But now that she's slowing down, it's only her. Okay. So a moon conjunct Venus in Leo. This is where you're really feeling it. This is where we're about to turn around. This is where we're slowing down. We're maybe losing some of that bloodlust, which is a good thing, right? And the journey returning back to Ra begins at the end of this transit. So that will be Leo part 2, okay? And I'll get that video out for you the week of her stationing retrograde. All right, you guys, so that was pretty much it. Wow, there's some powerful energies this month, and next month it's going to be even hotter because with part 2, Venus retrogrades and does return to the sun with that Venus star point on August 13th. So let me stop sharing my screen here because I want to talk to you guys a little bit. Just real quick, just some announcements. I have recently launched an offer that I'm giving all my clients, all my new subscribers, everyone following me on Facebook and in my email list, a Venus Star Point report. Okay, so what is a Venus Star Point report? Well, basically what I'm going to give you, it's a written report. You're going to receive a PDF, and it will be a reading of your natal Venus and her aspects. I will describe to you how the upcoming star point is going to activate the power of your Venus, of your natal Venus. I'm also going to report to you the areas of your life which you're going to feel this energy the most. Then I'm going to recommend practical steps to you to strengthen this activation so that you come through it the best version of yourself. I will also provide for you a professionally generated synastry chart for that day. So it'll basically be the Venus Star Point natal chart synastry chart. Now, if you combine these two offers, this is going to be a $33 report. If you combine these two offers with the Venus transit reports, it's a $144 value. But what I'm going to do for you is I am going to send you the link to get this report for $33. Once you receive your report, I'm going to send you a promotional code that will let you order the recorded personalized Venus transit report. You guys want to do this because it'll help you get ready for the Venus star point and help you strengthen that activation. This isn't something you can do overnight. You need a couple of weeks to get ready for this. Once you order the report and you receive it, I will send you a promo code to get 20% off the regular price of the recorded Venus transit. So that will take that $111 report and it will reduce it to $88 for you. So you purchase the Venus star point report and then you get a discount on the recorded. And the recorded link I will send to you in an email once I'm done the recording, okay? So look, guys, I'll put the links for both of those things in the comments and in the description of this video. Please share it with other people. Please hit the like button if you like these reports. Let me know how I'm doing. And if you're not subscribed, subscribe right meow, please. Visit my website, drdanny.com. Sign up. Check out all of my links. I have teachings. I have information about 13 sign astrology that's cosmically aligned. I also have a free chart calculator on my website where you can just go there, use the link, put in some details, and it will generate a chart. You don't have to send me any money. It's all for you, okay? And then, of course, order the Venus Star Point report and then get yourself a recorded personalized Venus transits report. Until Venus is transiting retrograde on the 22nd of July. I wish you well. I wish you blessings. Namaste, my friends.